seems very impersonal. I wish we could be just side by side, but I'll go through it. This is being recorded, and we've gotten a lot of notices of people saying can't make this time frame. So I hope you record it, and it is recorded. And Dana will send you the link afterwards. So let's jump into it. It's a brief overview of top grading, what's happening in our company, which is a lot, and then a focus really on the top grading snapshot as something new that we've refined massively. Then an overview of the ATA program. So you're all ATAs. You have a contract, but it's got to be a new contract you sign now for 2 years, and Dana will send that to you. How it works, it's really very simple. Everything's automated. Free offer to your clients, and then we have a recording from yesterday. One of the most successful of the Gazelle's executive coaches offered to speak. Actually, he just did that a couple days ago, so we had him yesterday. We recorded it, and so Dana has gotten the recording set up, and the first 30 seconds or so she deleted because you wouldn't understand what we're talking about if you weren't a Gazelle's coach. So I think it'll work. We did a dry run this morning. Think it'll work. But let me start at 60,000 feet. So you're executive coaches. Some of you are associated with Jim Olampi. Others are not. But in any case, I think everyone who's an ATA that's on this webinar works with clients and helps them with strategy, among other things, but it's strategy. And everybody knows, so I'm preaching to the choir here, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if B and C players are to implement it, they'll screw it up. I mean, I don't think you have any doubt about that. Point number 2, top grading. This sounds awful, it sounds arrogant, but top grading is, we absolutely believe, by far the best hiring method in the world, best ever created. In the history of the world, there's never been a hiring method better than Only Fair. Most of them are poor. We broke the code decades ago. I think we can prove it. Top grading is the best hiring method. We'll prove it during this webinar. And if any of you has any information that would suggest that I'm blowing smoke, after all, my initials are BS, right? Brad Smart. Okay. Let me know, please. Now, I've done this in front of hundreds of people in audiences. I did it in front of the top human resources people in the world, just the #1 human resources executives of just the largest 100 companies in the world. Very interesting meeting several years ago. It relates to what we're doing today because they got me motivated to do something more. They all agreed top grading is the best hiring method. What they also said was you're going to have world-class software. So that's what we've done. We've had the software. You're probably aware of it. We've had the top grading snapshot, the career history form, automated interview guides, and so forth, auto-populated interview guides. That was on a plain vanilla platform. Spent a lot of money, dipped quite deeply into my retirement savings to generate a world-class platform, which what it means to you is your clients can enjoy a world-class platform. It's very user-friendly from their standpoint. They don't actually have to do much if they're the owners. Their executive assistant will do it, or if they're large enough to have a human resources department, they will do it. But here we are, best hiring method in the world. With the top grading snapshot, we're absolutely convinced. We hear that every day. The top grading snapshot is the best candidate screening tool ever. What are the other screening tools? Well, tests, personality tests, and different interviewing strategies and so forth. This is so cool. Hiring managers in your client companies don't have to do anything until they look at the snapshot, and then literally in seconds, they can decide whether this is a person they want to talk with or not. Saves them a huge amount of time, and they get only sharp, honest candidates to interview. It's huge. So I encourage you to encourage them to embrace top grading, in order to have the A players implement the strategy you help them with, but also to, now I'm going to get on a little sore point, to not rip off the intellectual property. Don't copy forms and guides and so forth and bypass us. This is why the HEA program was, what should we say, put on hiatus last year, because we heard that probably several hundred companies were using our intellectual property. They were not using the snapshot, which is really too bad because it's super cheap, super easy to use, and super powerful, but they're using other elements of top grading. And so I've mentioned already Gazelles. I suspect all of you know what the Gazelles organization is. It's, you know, like 5 different entities, but one is Gazelles Executive Coaches. Vern Harnish started Gazelles. He started Young Executive Organization, which converted as people got older into Executive Organization. Every issue of Forum magazine has Vern Harnish in there organizing the Fortune, the Fortune annual seminars, so forth, workshops. And he's been a strong, strong advocate of top grading. Preaching to the choir again. You can have a brilliant strategy, but it'll be screwed up unless you have an A team. So use top grading. Vern personally funded the first top grading toolkit, which is a video toolkit. We have a newer edition of that. And Gazelles International Coaches is run by Keith Cupp, strong advocate again. And both Vern and Keith were, frankly, worse than dismayed. They were shocked that so many companies were, frankly, ripping off our intellectual property. So we came up with something. All right, strong messages from you coaches to the companies. Embrace top grading. There's a lot of stuff that is not copyrighted and so forth. You can take that right out of my book, right out of the manual that you have, and you'll have access to, and I'll explain how in just a few minutes. There's a lot of good stuff in there. If it's not copyrighted, not patented, go ahead and use it. But for the really good stuff that really has tremendous value, all right, you got to get a license. They're super cheap. All right, cheaper than any of the personality tests, by the way, and I'll tell you more about that a little later. So that is the reason the ATA program is put on hiatus. And so, okay, where are we today? Top Grading Online Solutions, TOLS 3.0, is much, much more sophisticated than what was being used just 5 months ago. So for like 4 or 5 years, literally hundreds of companies used our platform. It was okay. It was plain vanilla. They loved the top grading snapshot. They loved the auto-populated interview guides. Made it so easy to ask the questions in a top grading interview, for example, if all the data for a particular company were right there to begin with. Name of the company, the dates, the title, and so forth. What the pay level is, initial and final. The name of the boss, how the boss would rate the person's overall performance, why the person left the company. Oh, you have that to begin with before going into the details, and then the questions are right there. So the 3.0 is much more sophisticated. It's much more user-friendly from an administrator standpoint. So as far as your clients are concerned, if they have HR would use it. They love it, or even an executive assistant can do it. It's a 1-hour demo instruction. Plus we have some recorded videos and so forth. It is really easy to get set up. And then from a candidate standpoint, make it much easier for candidates to complete the career history form. They can do that on their iPhone and so forth. And what we've established is not only do we have 3.0 now, but we're moving towards 3.1 and 3.12 or whatever it's going to be. On an 8-week cycle, we're going to continue to add the functionality your clients ask for. It's really, really good now, but it's got to continue to be right up to date with all the technological innovations that are coming along. Okay, I already said it. Top grading is the best, and just last week, a CEO compared top grading. We have the Super Bowl coming up, right? So he said, "Hey, when it comes to hiring, well, I'll tell you, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. We have scrutinized every hiring method on this planet. And if this were football, top grading is the only NFL team. There isn't another NFL team. In fact, there's no college teams. It goes down to high school and then maybe junior high. I think that's why top grading is going to grow. And as I said, when I met with just the heads of HR, the largest 100 companies, they said, you need the software. We looked at it. It's okay software, but you have to get ready for prime time. And frankly, all of my clients, and I'll show you their logos in just a minute, they're all very eager for us to have this new platform, which we have now. And clients have been migrated to the new platform, and we're ready for prime time. So these enterprise mega companies are linking up with us now, so they're getting on board. Okay, and I said this Top Grading Snapshot is the best screening tool. I think several of you probably are not familiar with it. I'll go through that briefly. But here's where we became famous. Let me give you a little history. For several decades, I never made a sales call, never spent a nickel on marketing. CEOs of large companies wouldn't hire anyone or promote them without my interviewing them with a famous top grading interview. Okay? They just told their buddies who are CEOs, you're crazy if you don't have Brad or one of his associates do those interviews. And the interviews and executive coaching and team building, some other things. Okay. Then in the 1990s, I worked with Jack Welch at GE. He's my best client ever. And he did everything. And there were a lot of things in the talent field, but with respect to hiring, I was outsourcing interviews to about 12 people. And they're doing a great job. We had a great reputation at GE. More than 90% of the people we recommended for hire to those high-level jobs turned out to be A players. Woo! Jack Welch said, Brad, teach us to do it. You know, Jack has a PhD in engineering. He wasn't impressed with our PhDs. Yeah, you recognize if you've interviewed thousands of people, that gives you an advantage. Long story short, I trained trainers who trained trainers who trained several thousand GE managers. GE went from 25% success hiring A players, high performers, to 90% success. Woo! Okay? And GE became the most valuable company in the world in market cap, most respected. Jack, the most respected CEO. Woo! Okay, now that's true, what I just said, 25 to 90. If you go to www.topgradingcasestudies.com, you'll see that the GE case study was updated after Jack Welch left to include what's happened with respect to top grading since he left, and Jeffrey Immelt is the CEO. And for that case study, this is when, like last year, Bill Conity, who was the head of human resources under Welch and Immelt, said, I'm going to back off of the 90% and say over 80%. Bill, why? It's over 90%. Well, he's getting some bad press, opening plants in China and so forth. I don't want to provoke something. So there you have the truth. Okay, so here are all the famous companies. But the thing is, most of our clients are small companies, SMB world. Love them. We are one, by the way. Love it because they can get action right away. Yeah, GE became the most valuable company in the world. That was like after 6 or 7 years. I mean, it takes a while to roll out top grading across 300,000 people. All right, but I want to tell you something. See Culligan here? If you go to www.topgradingcasestudies, you'll see Culligan's there. They're a recent addition. And here's how easy it is to top grade. Okay, I'm going to make this point because you've probably heard that your clients went to the top grading website, topgrading.com, and they go, oh my God, there's so many different things to do, long interviews, it looks like it's very, very difficult. No, it really isn't. So Scott Clausen was hired by a PE firm to run Culligan. The PE firm actually bought Culligan as an ideal company for Scott Clausen to run. Sounds a little weird, but that's what it was. All right, Scott wanted to take the summer off, but he took his long-term head of human resources, sent him to Chicago. He said, roll out top grading before I arrive in 3 months. Actually, it was only 2 months. All right, all it was is got a license to use our intellectual property. Chris Mersaw, who's my head of professional services, conducted the workshops to train all the managers. There are only 1,200 employees at Culligan. So roughly about 100 managers. So he trained them in workshops. So the established hiring method was easily tweaked, changed, improved for top grading. And by the time Scott arrived in August, September, whatever it was, a couple of years ago, all the managers were fully embracing top grading. They were using the snapshot to screen candidates. They conduct top grading interviews using the auto-populated interview guides. They had candidates arranging reference calls with all their managers in the previous 10 years. Hey, this is easy. Yeah, there are some more things that any of your clients should be aware of, and be happy to talk to them about how you communicate what top grading is and so forth, but it really is easy. Flash forward to a few months ago, like 5 months ago. Culligan was sold, another PE deal. Sold at, get this, 10 times what the PE company had paid for it. They got one hell of a return, 10 times. And so another PE firm bought it, and there's such a super runway. Scott accepted the offer to stay on as CEO of Culligan. And his whole deal is lean manufacturing, top grading. Lean manufacturing and top grading. Okay, so that's all to hopefully convey to you that, hey, it's not so difficult. Here are some companies you might recognize in the small mid-range deal size. Mint.com is a Mint.com software. And Aaron Patzer, okay, he's one of our case studies here, said, I only had 40 people, but if I hadn't top graded and gotten 36 out of 40, 90% A players, we would have gone under. Okay? But he did top grade, and he sold Mint.com for $170 million. Woo, that is pretty neat. Let me go back. I'm hitting the, okay, one more company here. Sorry for jumping all over the place. But I'm looking for E-Trade. Okay, here it is, right here. They're another recent one. And if you go to www.topgradingcasestudies.com, you'll see the CEO, Paul Litzig, said, E-Trade would not exist as a company if it weren't for top grading. We had a lot of changes to make in talent, and we did it. And now, obviously, they're a very, very viable company. I've been referring to www.topgradingcasestudies.com. And if you go there, I mean, there are probably over 100 pages of case studies, but just look at and show to your clients a master chart. We could put it up here, but it would be 3 screens. It's just a master chart, name of the company, percent A players hired before top grading, since top grading. The average is 26% before, 85% after. For a lot of these companies, it's all jobs, all the way down to cashiers and stockers at Kroger. You know, their division, actually, of Kroger, $4 billion division, which is Roundy's. And by the way, all the CEOs say the company is more profitable. They say it in their own words, their quote. Obviously, they approved everything that's in the case studies. They let their company names be known because if you're known as a top grading company, you attract A players. So there's a huge message here, and I'll just repeat it maybe one more time at the end of this webinar. Top grading is the best hiring method. There is nothing in the world out there like a case study, like any one of these case studies. You know, they talk about a reduction in turnover and blah, 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 but we haven't seen any company with a case study even saying that we improved our percent of high performers 10%, let alone taking it to 85%. And I've never seen a case study where the CEO or chairman of the board says, oh, because we use that personality test or because we use this video interviewing methodology or whatever, the company is more profitable. No, haven't seen it. Okay, moving ahead kind of quickly. Scott Clausen, I said, he had the snapshot being used before he arrived as CEO. And because some of you will be listening to this rather than watching it, I'll read it. At Culligan, we've rolled out the top grading online forms and guides called TOLS. And they are hugely effective and helpful. The top grading snapshot is amazing. You can know the candidate's performance ratings by all bosses and the full comp history even before talking with a candidate. We know that's true. We know that millions of candidates were told right out of the starting block. A final step in hiring is for you to arrange reference calls with former bosses, actually, and current boss, too. I should tell you that. And so those reference calls are made. And sure enough, it's amazingly accurate. Even with people who didn't have formal performance ratings are able to guess how bosses would rate them. Why? Well, they fill out this form, and just save time, in the instructions it says what the top rating truth serum is. A final step in hiring is for candidates to arrange reference calls with former managers and others. And they fill out the form, and they put their salary history in here. They put how their manager would rate their overall performance, their reason for leaving, okay, and the name of the person to talk. So the world of hiring sucks terribly because candidates can lie and get away with it. They can lie in their resume. They can lie in their LinkedIn profiles. They lie in interviews. And every book I've seen from Amazon, and I have dozens of those books on how to get a job, say lie in your resume, lie in interviews, here's how to do it. It's awful. And there's no real solid verification out in the world because, for reasons you understand, reference checks are almost worthless. We solve the problem. We have honesty and we have the reference checks. We have the honesty and we have the verification. Okay, so that's why it works. So if you haven't seen it, I suspect almost all of you have, so I'll just spend a minute on this. After they fill out that form, push send, and this is a long form. It's an application form. Instead of hiring managers or human resources reading the long form, they look at this first, the snapshot. All right, so they probably do not want to hire a job hopper. Here are the years going across. The two colors, ugly orange, ugly green, are jobs. Okay, here are the employers. Okay, just those two employers. Here's salary here. So the person started out at 24 or something like that. They're up to about 75,000. So at a glance, you can see not a job hopper. At a glance, you can see 75,000. So if we're going to hire someone, 150,000, this person is probably too light. If we're only looking to hire kind of an entry person out of college for $35,000, this person's probably obviously too high. Manager rating. Here's a ratings across here: 4, 5, 5, 5. What does that mean? Here's the scale. How would, whatever his name was, Joe Smith, rate your overall performance? A players say something on the screen. They say excellent or very good. We know this. We know how people hired have turned out, and people who are candidates who say their bosses rate them nothing but 4 and 5 have a high percentage turn out to be A players. Here's the paradox. Good is not good enough. Huh? Good is not good enough. If you had just 3 minutes to interview someone, which you never would, and you said, okay, how many bosses have you had in the past 8 years? Well, I've had 6. How would all those bosses rate you on a scale of excellent, very good, fair, poor? And if the candidate says, oh, let's see, in those 6 bosses, not one of them would rate me excellent. Let me think about this. No, I don't think any of them would have said I was very good, but I think they'd all rate me good. Okay, executive coach, is that an A player? No chance, no chance, no chance. And reasons for leaving: green is good. It's their choice. A players tend to leave of their own volition, or they're not leaving, as this person, or there's a layoff, buyout. Those are somewhat questionable. Mutual decision is usually, not always, but usually negative. Other circumstances turn out to be usually negative. And red, terminated for a cause, always turns out to be really bad. Okay, so that's a snapshot, the best candidate screening tool on the planet. Here's another one, and if you want, just contact Dana. She can send you this PowerPoint. But this is someone who, since 2008, well, here's a 2-year job, a little gap in there, another short-term job, a very short-term job, out of work here, another short-term job, and out of work now. Let's see what the boss ratings are. These two are okay. Ooh, this is not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. So since 2011, hasn't had a boss rating better than good, which is not good enough. Reasons for leaving here: mutual decision, or this is mutual decision, terminated for cause. Okay, you get the point here. That's why the snapshot's so valuable. If you had 50 resumes to screen, you could spend all day Saturday going through them and just scratch your head. Every one of these damn resumes looks like an A-player resume because it's easy to fake them, and they do. You don't know who to call. You finally end up having phone screens with a bunch of people. Most of it are unimpressive. It's a frustrating experience. What this means, you turn that 50 into 4 people who are the best of the best. They're honest, okay, because they know they're going to have to arrange calls with bosses. They say their bosses give them high ratings, okay. They're not a job hopper. They're at the right salary level. Boy, problem solved, okay. So here's the overview of the ATA program. All right, obviously the same goals as before. Help your clients. 2, provide a revenue stream for you. And 3, help all of us top grade the world. Every company, every manager, every leader we've come in contact, we want them to do well. All right, I want to be hiring people rather than going out of business and so forth. That's what top grade the world is. And right now, when I met with those Fortune 500, actually the Global 100 heads of HR, God, they're all using a horrible system that just is nothing like a snapshot for screening. They use round-robin competency interviews, which anyone can fake, and all the books on how to get a job teach them how to fake. And then no reference checking, hence 25% sex. Yikes. So here's what you get. The percentages are the same as in your current contract. Basically, rounded off, you get 20%. Okay, when people go to one of our 2-day workshops, we just had one last week, got average rating was over 9.5, so it's like 10 on a 10-point scale. Your clients, ideally the owner of the company and one other A player, go to the workshop. They come back and they're not only sold, they're well prepared to implement top grading. For the tolls license, they're cheap as like $1,500 for a small company and so forth. They're really, really cheap. You get 20% of the first year, 10% of the second year. Okay, that's pretty cool. For professional services, if you had mid-range companies, 100 people in the company, the owner is in trouble, needs a new chief financial officer. The consequence of a mishire there could be catastrophic for the company. Maybe they hire us to do it. The rates for our conducting the top grading interview are as high as $15,000 for me. Okay, that's too expensive. But we have a bunch of other very experienced professionals, and it goes down to as little as $3,000. Then if they have 5, 6, 7 managers in the company, maybe an on-site workshop would be cheaper than sending people to our workshops. So you can talk about that. And so you get 20% there as well. Here's what you're going to get. Okay, as soon as this is over, get a new 2-year agreement to sign. Okay, you'll get a new ATA referral ID, so you pass that on to your clients and they get 5% discount. When they use that, then you go to log in, and Dana will send you the login information, and in 2 seconds you can see which clients have bought what your commission structure is, and so forth. Okay, so all that's coming. Okay, so my responsibility is keep you informed. We don't want to put this on hiatus. All right, pay you promptly. Make sure your experience with your clients is really, really good. Any problems, let me know. Okay, and we will consummate sales. You don't actually have to. You don't have to actually do any selling. Take that manual. You get the revised version of the manual. It'll be an e-version, obviously, when Dana sends you the information. Just gives you a lot of stuff to kind of pique their interest. And I'll go through a couple of those in just a minute. All right, give you the affiliate ID to clients for their discount. Yeah, become familiar with top grading. There's plenty of stuff in the manual and at our website. All right, connect your clients to top grading. The message is clear. I'll work with you on strategy. I'm going to help you improve talent. You embrace top grading, you'll get there. It's the best way to do it. And please provide us feedback, anything we can do better. Among the resources in the manual to get your clients interested in top grading are a brief summary, easy. Send them to topgrading.com. They can download the 4th version of our e-guide. So it was Top Grading 101, then 201, then 301, now it's 401. Shorter, punchier, better. You can just tell them about the torque technique. Tell candidates a final step in hiring is for them to arrange reference calls, you know, and immediately their hiring will get better, and obviously follow that with conducting those reference calls. What's an A player versus a B player, C player? There's several resources in the manual. Whip those out. Yes, you can photograph or photocopy those. Go through that discussion with your client. If you ask, gee, if you mishire that CFO, what do you think the cost would be? They say, oh, golly, we're a $10 million company. I guess it would be a couple $100,000. Bull. It's a lot more than that. If you Google cost of mishire form, our top grading cost of mishire form pops up on the first page all the time. It's been researched for years and years and years. It's a checklist. When you go through that with your company owner, and they conservatively estimate what it costs to hire and fire, the missed opportunities, the computers, all that kind of stuff, they'll come up for CFO is going to be at least $500,000, I guarantee you, probably more. There's a talent review sheet, useful to sit down with that company owner and go through the top talent, maybe the top 2 levels in the company, who should go, who should stay. Sample job scorecards. Job descriptions are vague. Job scorecards are accurate. If you get your client to go through the exercise of creating job scorecards, then candidates will understand what the job is better. They'll understand what the job is better, and they'll avoid mishires. And finally, what are all the competencies that are important for management? There are dozens, not 3, not 5, not 10. There are dozens. And if someone falls short on any one, even one of all those competencies, they'll say that person's a failure. The beauty, the magic of top grading is, even though there are a lot of competencies, you do a tandem top grading interview, which is what you learn in the workshop and so forth, then you do get fantastic insights into all those competencies. That's why it works. That's why GE became the most valuable company in the world. Next, I'd like this is about for a 10-minute recording of someone who's been using the Top Grading Snapshot and Top Grading as an executive coach. And it was a little garbled to begin with because he talked Gazelle's language to begin with, but it's Rick Crossland. He's the author of A Player Advantage. Great book for you to get. Okay, he refers to top grading a lot in it. And he's been using the Snapshot for about 4 years. He's been a consultant to 2 companies, has a really great track record with lots and lots of his clients. And so you say, hey, Rick, I'm going to pass the baton to you. Now, we did a dry run on this a few hours ago. We'll see if it works, but he should be up next. But don't go away afterwards. We have a couple of final comments. And here's Rick Crossland. Okay, the free offer for your clients. I'm sorry. Okay, next I think is the recording. So let me just, I've already said these things, but here's what you get. It's free to your clients. The content in that ATA manual, upgraded, revised, you'll get that in the next half hour. 2 months free top grading online solutions. That's the free trial. So what worked out with Vern Harnish and Keith Gazelles is, okay, what will be a carrot? We don't want you just saying, don't rip off top grading IP. We want to offer them something. So 2 months for your clients, use of the online Snapshot, the auto-populated interview guides, you get everybody set up and using it. Once they start using it, of course they're going to buy a license, and of course they won't be ripping off our IP. Okay, I'd be happy, by the way, if you have a company that is interested in top grading and would like a webinar, maybe an introduction to top grading webinar, call me, okay? And if you just have a bunch of CEOs, 5 minimum, CEOs who would like the introduction to top grading, and this will be a webinar where they can talk, okay? So it's like we're sitting in the same room, be glad to do that, no charge to you, okay? And so if you want to arrange a call with me, Dana, who's on this webinar right now, she's at 847-244-5544, extension 300, okay? And be glad to talk with you. My personal my personal email address, I don't give it up very often, but here it is. So communicate with me directly. Okay, it's besmart@topgrading.com. Isn't that clever? Be smart. Okay, it's not so clever. besmart@topgrading.com. Okay, we did this earlier. I think now when I push the button, you'll hear Rick.
Pleasure to share with my other Gazelles coaches. I've been affiliated with Gazelles. Pleasure to share with my other Gazelles coaches. I've been affiliated with Gazelles. I want to say it's going on 6 years this spring. And I've been affiliated with Top Grading for around 4 years as well. I would say those two affiliations have been probably the two best things I've done in my business. I've been a very successful coach for 9 years, and I found the discussion years ago was going towards top talent. Through Brad and Vern, through Vern and Keith, I was introduced to Brad and Top Grading. Chuck Kocher actually turned me on to, he goes, you got to read the book, as you know Chuck would do. And I read the book, and I was like, my goodness, this makes perfect sense. And I started implementing it. And shortly after, I did the Tolles online tool, turned my clients onto it, and I found CEOs had an immediate appetite to talk for talent. And a little aside there, I found years ago that you couldn't prescribe every action a business owner was going to take. And the secret was really to get great people. And all of our discussions are around A players, thanks to Brad's abundance. My business actually called A Player Advantage. And every coaching session revolves around top talent. In fact, we just had a B player who was what I call an inflatable A. If he pumped him up, he would do well. Well, he vacated, turned in his resignation, which is what they do in the culture. They leave quietly. And the team is so excited that, hey, we're going to go get an A player. And we talked about top grading an internal candidate as well as a bunch of external candidates who we're going to identify. So it's been fantastic. I can't talk enough about it. It's easy to use. I think, if you're considering this, you'll have to be active in it, meaning you have to be the front person, the cheerleader, because it's easy for the B players to sneak in there and for the system to regress. But it's been fantastic. And any questions people have, Brad and Chris and his team are terrific partners. I appreciate the contributions to the book from Brad and Vern. And I wrote the book to be a counter to top grading and to be kind of that people manual in scaling up. So I hope it's of value to you guys.
Okay, all right, that actually worked. A little bit of a stutter start, all right. And so I was called, where Dana was called, and asked how this is going to take. I said only 45 minutes. And so here's what I want to do, because I know you're busy and people probably need to get a bite to eat before their next appointment in 15 minutes. If you have any questions or would like to talk to me, any of you, call Dana, 847-244-5544, extension 300. Or just email me. There's an easy address to remember, besmart@topgrading.com. Email any questions. Then if you would like to set up an appointment, we'll do that. So back to 60,000 feet, getting above these details here. Those heads of HR, the largest, most sophisticated companies in the world, motivated me to build the company, to develop world-class software, to continue to improve on top grading and software. And so we're growing. We're growing. Just to add a little color commentary to what happened and why this is the breakaway year for top grading, to grow, continue to add to the innovativeness, to functionality of the software, but also to share more with techniques with people. Because here's what they said. All those companies, and let me see, go back to these companies here, who are embracing top grading. Isn't that nice? What they said was, these companies will drop top grading when the CEO leaves. Well, why would they do that? Well, if a CEO comes in from another company, he or she is going to bring HR. HR is going to be familiar with something else, and they had this amazing admission. HR people tend not to be leaders. They don't want to be held accountable for things. They want easy, not necessarily best. It takes the owner of the company to make top grading happen. All right. So what they said happened to be true. Barclays was a client, and they left. Okay, when there was a new CEO, and so several others, they Shell and so forth. So that was frustrating to me. Hey, this is not a cure for cancer, but top grading's, pretty important, I think, and it's a shame that all throughout the world, millions and millions of interviews will be conducted today. Way too many people will have lied in the resume or CV and in interviews, get jobs they should not have, turn out to be disappointments, and that's it. You saw the statistics from 26 to 85% A players. If we lower the bar and say, what percent of the people do you hire turn out to be less than A players? It's over 50%. Like half the people we hire kind of disappoint us. Not that they're really bad, not that we're going to fire them, but it tends to be, because I've interviewed 6,500 executives. On the average, they've had 10 jobs. That's 65,000 times in the top grading interview. I asked about, what talent did you inherit? How many A's, B's, C's reporting directly to you? What did you end up with? And I've heard all those times, tens of thousands of times, I inherited about 25% A's, 50% B's, 25% C's. I did a bunch of changes, but I still ended up with about 25% A's, maybe went up to 30 or 40, and the rest B's and C's. When I hired from my personal network, that really was good. So all of your clients should do that. But because my hiring success record outside of my network led to only a 25% success rate, 3 out of 4 people I hired, not in my network, turned out to be disappointments. So believe me, the agony and the pain of not having A players is throughout the world. And I know I'm biased in my perspective, but I can think of nothing that'd be more viable to your client, which is the owner and the CEO, and their managers, than leading them into an implementation of top grading. So I hope we can all talk, at least talk live and meet face to face. And I really do want to help you help your clients. So please feel free to get in touch. And for now, thank you. Have a good afternoon.